Everyone, bonjour tout le monde. This is a review in English, but as usual, don't worry, there will be things in French very soon as well. Donc il va y avoir des choses en français très bientôt, mais effectivement, là, ce sont des nouvelles en anglais. Si vous ne comprenez pas certaines choses, n'hésitez pas à revenir vers moi, à mettre des commentaires. Right, this was a disclaimer in French to say that if people need some information in French, they can write to me as well under the video in the comment section. So, right, this is a bit different video in which I wanted to present you what is to expect on Greg's Whiskey Guide for the next, let's say, 3 to 6 months maybe. Bearing in mind that if there's something new coming in, samples, bottles, events, of course I will update things there and give you my report about those things and some whiskey reviews as well. For now, I will present you some of the bottles, not all. They don't fit all on the table, mind you. That will be reviewed as soon as possible within those 3 to 6 months, but yeah, following months, let's say, on my channel. But first I will give you some feedback for those who didn't saw or also for those who saw my pictures and want to learn a bit more about my Adelphi tasting I had on March 31 in Paris. It was, by the way, the first tasting I could go for, almost the first, organized and important tasting I could go those last 2 years. I don't want to go back on why, and you might have heard of that, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to attend some soon. It depends on some events here that are political, so we won't speak about that. But to start things, let's say there was an event, and I'm not sure. I did put a little story on my community page. If you don't know my community page on my welcome screen on my channel, please head over to this. This is something I only had the opportunity to add content since I don't know, 4-6 months ago, when I reached the 500 and then 600 subscribers. So thank you for that once again. And this was opening for me the opportunity to post a few words, disclaimers, or small topics with pictures. So I spoke about the restaurant La Zygotech in Paris, which alas closed the last month in March 18. Quite sad event, even if the owner and chef will be reopening something else in another formula outside Paris, hopefully this year. It's not completely bad, but it was a great place for me to discover whiskey, as they have over 250 250 whiskies and more probably, and 400 spirits in the restaurant, and they were doing pairing menus with whiskey and food, cognac and food, wine and food, champagne and food. But for what interests us here the most, whiskey related menus, and I did participate in some, and even 2008 I think one of my home blends was presented there. So you see, it's a long story for me, the blending, but you can learn more about it elsewhere in my channel and on my website. Anyway, so yeah, on this restaurant I wanted to pay homage to him before he closes. I was with a friend, a good friend, and He let me choose the whiskies because I know a little bit more than him about whiskey. And when I saw on the whiskey menu the ARDNAMURCHAN, which is a single malt, I heard a lot of praise about, but I didn't have the occasion to try. Also because it's not well distributed here in France, I have to say. This is what I'm talking about. We tried the 09.20:01, which was the first release. Now let me illustrate. It's not the same release. So we tried ARDNAMURCHAN, and honestly, I was blown away by the quality of the distillate. Blown away by the balance of this whiskey, all the care, the craft that's behind it, and also the mastery in blending the different casks. So when I saw this masterclass coming, because I love Adelphi Indie bottler production usually, I mean the one I discovered, and I have some in my collection. And when I saw this for 25 euros only at the Whisky Shop Paris, 6 drams, and we had a bonus, which was not expected. I say that's pretty reasonable and really interesting. So I jumped on this. By the way, if you want to know more about my tasting of the 09.20:01 release of the ARDNAMURCHAN, you know, it's the code that's here. It's a bit complicated. I learned also during this masterclass on March 31 that they're gonna drop the numbers. Don't know exactly what the new label will look like. We saw a kind of advanced sample experimental. It was not the definitive one, but they told us they're gonna drop the numbers to make it more clear. I mean, for the wide audience, but for us geeks, we love to have some indication of the batches. So I don't know how they will provide that, but it's interesting to learn. They're gonna change a bit things. So in this masterclass, there was Guillaume Coudière, which is a French brand ambassador, but also distributor of Adelphi in France for some years. But I have never met him, and they were not many tastings. I missed one, I know. So there were finally 2 ARDNAMURCHAN to try this evening, and there were 1, 2, 3, 4 Adelphi bottlings as well. Okay, sorry for the noise behind, it distracts me. Anyway, so yeah, we have this this very nice tasting, and Antonia Bruce, you know, Alex Bruce, the same family for leading the company. It's a family company, but Antonia Bruce, I didn't know her, and I learned that she was involved in the blending selection process and the branding selection of the casks. So very interesting and very high position in the company for this Scottish woman. So very, very pleased, and she speaks some French as well, so it was very cool to hang out with her within this tasting that gathered around 15 people. But okay, so just a bit of a quick report about this Adelphi. For those who don't know, it's I will present it when I will do the review of this. I will present you the company a bit more, but yes, this is Scottish indie bottling indie bottling company, but which does single malts like this one. They also do world blended malts, and they also do blended whiskey which is usually called private stock. I have it, but some say Dancy Man as well. Okay, so about this tasting, and I will come shortly to the ARDNAMURCHAN at the end. We had a 14 years old DAILUAINE. I posted pictures on my Instagram, Greg's Whiskey Guide. Please check it out. It's I started the Instagram only last winter, so autumn. So I'm adding content every week. And the tasting notes, by the way, for the ARDNAMURCHAN were in French on my Instagram, but you can Google translate them. DAILUAINE, 14 years old, 2007, 54.1. This is my notebook. I brought there a new notebook. So the most interesting part, I have to say, for that one for me was the nose. Which is paradoxal because it's not a perfume, it's a whiskey, right? The nose were a pure fudge treat. It was very beautiful. But on the palate, it got a bit more herbal, spicy, still some caramel, some fudge, but well, less spectacular, and for me a bit disappointing regarding the beautiful nose. But still, yet a good whiskey, and on a first tasting, my temporary rate was 83.5 out of 100. Okay, then we move. It's not in the exact order, but because I had prepared the notebook in advance. Then we went to my favorite Adelphi of the evening after this. That's why I bought it. But I could, if I had more money, I will bought also that LINKWOOD, 11 years old, 2010 vintage, 2021 bottling, 52.8 ABV. And I forgot to mention, all these whiskies are non-chill filtered natural color, and except for the ARDNAMURCHAN, they're all single casks. Adelphi does, I forgot to mention during the evening, they mistake on one point, because probably I was referring to older releases where they were referring to newer releases. Adelphi do sometimes do very small batches. I have a Bunahaven 1968, 41 years old, one of the jewels of my collection, which has, if I'm not mistaken, 3 casks blended together. So yeah, sometimes, but most of the time, single malt. This one was single cask, 304, 846. It's the number. Sherry Hogshead, 323 bottles only. Quite hefty, 111 euros price, and. But the nose was to die for. It's all we love. I love, at least in LINKWOOD. So nice floral notes, delicate floral notes, very refined, complex, a bit heady, but not only. Also some beautiful candied fruit and dried fruit as well. Very long, very satisfying mouthful and finish. Not the longest finish, but really very nicely made, very balanced, and with the water it got also a bit pastry, which was interesting. I gave this an 89 out of 100 for a first try. Then we moved to the BENRINNES. BENRINNES, 10 years old, 2011, 2000 distillation, 2021 bottling. 53.4%, single cask 305, 246, first fill Oloroso Hogshead, 273 bottles. Don't remember the price, but they were all around 100 euros. Very sherry, a bit overwhelming nose, not very interesting nose. On the palate, quite some sherry as well. It's one of the trademark, as it's BENRINNES. It's a bit of a Macallan outsider, if I may say, in the for me in the Speyside sherried area. So modern sherry on the palate. Some nice notes, some nice oxidative rancho and stuff. Not really pronounced, but you know, the hazelnut, sweet spices, the yeah, it's half modern, let's say, half classic sherry, but not blowing my mind, not bad at all. Bit more interesting with a few drops. I tried it, but it didn't got more on temporary rate again than 79 and a half out of 100. It was the least interesting for me of the set. Let's get clear. Now this beautiful high coast, the Swedish distillery. It's an 8 years old, distilled 2012. I know the labels, they like to have very small labels to highlight the color, but sometimes it's hard to read the small things there. This one is an 8 years old 2012, bottle 2021, single cask 397, giving only 241 bottles, 62.3% ABV. First Fill Bourbon, again non-chill filter, non-colored. Very peated, it's heavily peated wine. A bit medicinal as well. Honestly, first nose for me could have been an Ardbeg or a KORNOG, the French single malt. A bit farmy, but yeah, a blast of peat, but yet still subtle and refined. It reminds me on the palate a bit of the Timmer, which I like a lot, which is lightly peated, but with a turbo power. So multiplied by 5, let's say. Very rewarding palate. Floral, fruity notes, some esters, very nice esters. So for me, esters means English licorice, all sorts, pineapple and pear, eau de vie or tinned fruit. In cans, and of course there's also some vanilla, some ginger, citrus fruit. So beautiful nose. Lots of things ticking the boxes. When I see the details of my my rating out of 10, the criterias are almost always on the 9. So it gives quite logical. It's a temporary rate. I will review it, so we'll be more precise. But for now, 90.5 out of 100. That leads us now to finish with this to the ARDNAMURCHAN, which again it's going to be temporary notes. So the 04.21 colon 03. It's the one that was on the tasting. It's a 65% bourbon and 35% sherry expression. It's a mix of, I don't know how many casks, but this 1700 and I cannot read myself, 802 I think. They said over 15,000, but yeah, quite some bottles. 46.8%, I forgot to mention. Non-chill filtered natural color. Half of the casks are sherry, are peated, lightly peated. This one was sold 65 euros, which is for a super craft distillery quite reasonable. I found it less spectacular than the 0.20 colon 01, but it's beautifully crafted, very balanced. It's 5 to 6 years old, if I understood well. It comes across way more age than that, if I may say. I mean more than 8 to 12 mixed than 5 and 6 years old. Very, I will review it in more details, but very balanced, with a part of maritime notes that I like a lot, seashore, not really medicinal, not a lot of iodine or seaweed, but it's a bit of everything balanced in terms of maritime influence. Some herbal elements that probably will shine through more. And as I was tasting it, I took some time to taste it in the masterclass, and it was very interesting. Evolving towards a kind of herbal, almost bitter but not really bitter profile. Some nice wildflowers as well. On the bitter side, some gentian coming in, but still tamed. Otherwise, I don't like that. Some elements very hard to pin out, floral, almost perfumey elements that I liked a lot. And a beautiful oak notes that remind me a bit of Glencadam, which I'm going to speak next. On the palate, this super elegant. I mean, I tried only 3 ARDNAMURCHAN so far, 2 during this tasting and 1 before, and this is really impressing me. The level of quality and attention to the vatting, the blending, is the distillation, of course, but every step. But you can have a beautiful distillate and then ruin it with the crazy policy of cask, like some do, or some I understand they do that I haven't tried, but I got some average feedback on those new distilleries, some of those. This really seems, it's praised by a lot of YouTubers, ticks a lot of boxes in terms of quality and balance and expressivity, but do not expect, it's slightly peated, do not expect a pit bomb. It's something very subtle. So, to put a long story short, I rated this temporarily 89.5. But I will go back to it, and I guess the note might jump a bit more. Last but not least, we had an advanced sample bonus dram at the end, and that one stole the show, I have to say. And that one was an advanced sample of a peated, heavily peated cask strength expression at 59.2. A mix of 50 casks, sherry, bourbon, peated, etc. This is coming on, I think, in the end of April, in France at least. And whoa, it's okay. I don't want to encourage any flippers or anything, but yeah, this was a stunning bottling that stole the show. Second best dram for me was the High Coast, then this one, and the LINKWOOD after it. So yeah, great tasting. I've been a bit long about that, so it's almost a review. So yeah, pretty happy with those things. I showed you High Coast Indie. I can show you High Coast without further ado. High Coast Dalva Sherry Influence, because I'm gonna do now that I have a supplementary bottle of an Indie High Coast. I'm gonna do 4 bottles and a few samples, rundown overview of High Coast, which has become with Bergslagen, which is closed, but Grythyttan, I mean, my favorite Swedish distillery. You saw probably on social media, without a transition, this coming in, as I did participate to a Zoom tasting of Angus Dundee Distillers Company brands. Very cool, in 2 parts Zoom tasting, where I had to pay quite a lot for the samples, contrarily to the others participants, but anyway, this way there can be no way I can be accused of being biased, I think. But this I bought prior to the tasting, and also the you might have seen the 13, the Reawakening. So I'm gonna do a review of the Reawakening 13 years old of the regular 10, and I'm gonna also do a review of a sample I won in a competition on YouTube, and here's the 25 years old, which I have high expectations for. On parallel, I will also review 3 Tommy Towels and my bottle of the 10 I have. While we are in Scotland, I'm gonna also do, because I'm a bit late on blended whiskies, I'm gonna do a wee review before it finishes of these. You might not know this blend, which is a bit special. So I will speak to you about Pig's Nose. Also, I delayed it a bit, and my bottle of the most well-known core range is now in a closed box because of all what's happening there. Still unsolved. This one I think it's discontinued, but I'm gonna do a rundown of 5, 6, I don't remember how many I have. Grant's, which belongs to William Grant and Sons, the owners of Glenfiddich, Kinninvie, and Balvenie, and also a grain distillery. I don't remember if it's Girvan, not sure. Blended whiskey wise of Scotland, I'm gonna also do a few others, but I'm gonna do a comparison between the famous Grouse Winter Reserve, the Ruby Port Finish, and the regular famous Grouse. If you're interested in famous Grouse, you can already see a video of mine in which I compare a bottling from the 1970s early with a bottling from the current decade. Right, let me take a sip. No tasting because I have too many things to present you and don't want this video to be long. The Irish month is over, but I mean the official one, but I still have a lot to cover. I told you I will didn't have the time and room to put it out, but I told you I will speak about the Bushmills 1608, which I like a lot. Even if it's discontinued, you can still find it in secondary market, a bit expensive, but it's a beautiful whiskey. Bushmills wise, I have 2 novelties. There was a lot of offers, discount and things here about Irish months, so I did jump on it when I could, of course. So this was the cheapest I got, which is the blended Irish whiskey. This is a Rum Reserve, Caribbean Experience, 40% I know. Nice label. No idea if it's good or not, but you will find out with me. Yet to open it. Another one I jumped in because I like the Black Bush, but I often found it a bit weak because of the ABV. But guess what? This one is at 43%. It seems because of the use of the word caviste, which means retailer with a shop in French. This is the exclusive 43 caviste 43% edition. The label, even the back label, is in English, so I guess it might be an international release, but I cannot guarantee it. I have the regular Bushmills, so I will do a 40% versus 43. Yeah, looking forward for this. This could be interesting. This is not finished for Irish. There was a big offer, almost €4 on it, and it jumped under around €16, which is an incredible for this reference. It's usually the double. The cask mates, I have the stout edition, which I talked about and reviewed when I did my Irish month, 1 live and 2 videos, so around 15 I think whiskies reviewed, or 10, I don't remember. This one is finished in IPA, in English, craft beer barrels from the 8D brewery. Last but not least, oh no, there are 2. This one I jumped, also on offer. It seems interesting on the paper. This is the Tullamore Dew blended Irish whiskey, but with a Caribbean rum cask finish. It says XO, so my guess, I don't have more information, that it could be 6 years old or more rum cask used for the finish. Oof, heavy stuff. Even more heavy is the bottle of Powers 12 years old John's Lane, which I bought after tasting a sample from Jim Whiskey Novice that really convinced me it was high quality. I awarded it at that time, it was 2 years ago or 1 year ago, and gave it a 90 out of 100, so high expectations on this, even if I would have preferred a colored label than a gray. French whiskey. I did participate to an event in digital event in France on March 31, and did a video in French to basically celebrate our French spirits. So I posted a few pictures you might have seen of not only whiskey but cognacs, armagnacs, and eau de vie, fruit spirits. This big anticipated from me, Coteau du Léon, 11 years old. Coteau du Léon is a sweet wine, which is a bit different from the Sauterne or Montbazillac or what else? Quart de Chaume. It's and what else? I forgot. There are several ones. Sauterne being the most famous, but there are others. Sweet wine, dessert wine. But this one is a full maturation in Coteau du Léon. It's a 50% ABV. KORNOG is the name of the peated expression of GLANN AR MOR distillery from Brittany in France, which I often talk about because it's quite a genuine direct fired. It's our, if I might say, it's not the same style, but it's our Springbank of France in a way. I consider it as almost as high, by the way. Moving on to finish to already. I've been a bit late, and I apologize towards my Northern American and especially United States audience. I'm a bit late to cover quite some whiskies now. I have a Maker's Mark, which was my very first bourbon I tasted in my life, probably in 1998 or 1999, and then it was my go-to in bars and when we were in a hotel with a friend. Last dram or first dram, Maker's Mark, wheated bourbon. It's been a long time I haven't had a bottle, so very curious. I also have to review a lot of rye whiskies, but I'm waiting a bit to get more to do a special rye, international rye, by the way, video. But yeah, I have the Rittenhouse rye and a lot of others you might have seen on some pictures. Jack Daniel's rye, Michter's rye, the Fure rye as well, and some others. But I've been acquiring this also on offer because they got expensive and rare here. The Blantons, the famous Buffalo Trace brand Blanton, or at least it was a Buffalo Trace. I'm not sure it has. They're so complicated, those American big distilleries, because they have sub-brands, and sometimes they let them do by other subdivisions, sometimes not the same distillery sourcing, etc. So, but this I wanted to do a rundown, a review of this one. So the single barrel, I think it's the name. This is a 2018 bottle, which is very good. I heard some more recent were not as good. I don't know. So this one will be reviewed. I was at the gold edition, an old release that's stunning, and also a very good single barrel, straight from the barrel, 63.5 if I'm not mistaken. And finishing with the Japanese section, I will do a comparison between 3 Akashi Japanese blended whiskey, not entirely Japanese, mind you, but there's still at least some white oak Egashima distillate in it. So unfortunately the single malt and high-end versions of Akashi are very expensive. Comes in 50 cl bottle, by the way. They're quite expensive, while those one are very, let's say cheap, 50 cl, but around 30, and I had offers again, so less than 30 euros. So I have this one, the sherry cask finish. I have the Meisei, which have also some additional sherry cask in there. It's a black label, and I have the current core range as well, and more average, let's say, the white label, but I wanted to do a comparison between those 3, so you will know my thoughts about it. Another company, I'm late to cover this, Suntory Toki. Hi Mac. I hope I didn't butcher it too much. For the 3% blended Japanese whiskey, for me more interesting than the Nikka Days, while often I tend to favor their offer, not because I'm biased, but because personal taste. This time, if you have, okay, I'm long again. If you have to choose between a tip to finish, between Nikka Days and this, pick this. It's more interesting in my opinion. And less bland label as well. Of course, you're expecting this and you will have it. My second favorite distillery after Port Ellen is Yoichi from the Nikka group. Also very old way of doing whiskey, older and more traditional than many Scottish distilleries, I have to say. But I will explain you a lot of things, and some that not been really disclosed yet on video, I think, ever, about Yoichi. I will compare, because people seem to find my Bowmore series, for instance, very long, and I saw a decrease of views, and even I lost some subs because of, I suppose, or other reasons, my Bowmore collection series. I'm gonna split my Yoichi rundown overview in probably 2 or 3 videos, because I have 7, I think, 7 Yoichis. First one will be Yoichi NAS from nowadays compared to the prior to the Japanese shortage, cask shortage of 2015. The knowledge statement that did exist before at 50 cl. So I will compare those 2. I will also compare it probably with the 10 years old. And then I will do a separate video with the 12 years old, discontinued, I know, as the 10. 15 years old, discontinued. 25 years old, single cask for France, of course, discontinued. And maybe a bonus, if I dare to show you the bottle, which is very dear to my heart and very small left. Yeah, also I forgot, I will do Miyagikyo rundown as well. So this is not over, but almost. Another thing missing a lot, and I apologize again, is the samples from the whiskey community on themed videos. From time to time I try those samples in live shows from friends or from my shows, and I forgot to do pay more tribute to especially a few people that has been very generous over the years, and because also it's sometimes difficult because I want to have them live with me tasting the samples, but it's not always possible. But yeah, to name a few, I think the temporary name of this series will be Friendly Sample Session, something like that. Temporary name for instance, I received over the years a lot of samples from Luna Aran, also from Mano over to Belgium, and I have a beautiful set of I didn't dare to touch it yet, it's a shame, but set of samples from Paul Gibbs of only North Star Spirits whiskies. Most of them were sold out quick, so that's probably why I didn't jump on it, but I'm very curious. Also, we'll speak, of course, about other French whiskies, even if I did slow down in acquisitions lately, making a bit more high my Irish and Japanese collection than the other countries. Also, I jumped on some gins last year, so I'm preparing a special gin video. I know it might surprise. I have also an Armagnac and a Cognac video to do, probably with guests, we'll see. So yeah, lots of things. I'm gonna stop there, and I hope it wasn't still interesting and it will keep you intrigued to watch my future content videos. Take care and see you soon. Bye bye.